Welcome back. Item number 3 in the legal checklist for startups is to define your who. With whom do you want to work on your business? I'm Mark Lyda from the Lyda Law Firm. Let's get started. Define your who. I break this down into a few different parts. Who do you want to work with? For example, potential partners. Who do you want to work for your business? Employees or independent contractors, for example. And then what other collaborators will you have on your business? Investors, lenders, vendors, etc. So let's take those one by one. First, potential partners. We talked about this earlier in defining your end goal and beginning with the end in mind. If you're thinking about going into business with a partner, it's very important that you both have a similar end goal for your business. Otherwise, you'll be going off in different directions and there will be tension on what direction you take the business in. You also will want to make sure that partnership is right for you personally. Not only that it's a good fit with your partner, but that it's a good personality fit with you to have a partner at all, depending on what level of control you are willing to give to the partner and what each of you brings to the table. So, like the other items we've talked about so far, defining your mission statement, defining your end goal, finding a partner is not in itself a legal concept, but it will absolutely affect all of your other legal decisions and will have several legal ramifications for you as you move forward. The next group you need to think about when defining your who is people who will work for your business, namely employees and independent contractors. An extremely common mistake that I see businesses make is to pay people who should be employees as independent contractors. We will talk about the difference between employees and independent contractors in more detail in a later video. But for now, I want to flag it for you as an issue where if somebody is really working for you most of the time and your business closely supervises them in the time, place, and manner of their work, then they are most correctly and appropriately defined as employees rather than independent contractors. If you try to save tax money by classifying an employee as an independent contractor, it can come back and bite you because you may have to pay back taxes and penalties for failing to classify your employees correctly. Another group to think about when you are defining your who is lenders and also investors. We'll talk more about this in our video on planning for the funding of your business. But if you are going to be collaborating with people who are providing funding for your business, you need to think about what type of relationship you want. At this stage, you may not know specifically who your investors will be, but you can start to think about what types of investors you would want. For example, if you are seeking venture capital funding, do you want an investor who just gives you the money and gets out of the way? Or do you want someone who will serve more as a mentor and advisor to your business with a board of directors seat and lots of hands-on involvement in the day-to-day decisions of your investment? Start thinking about that, thinking about your own strengths and weaknesses, what other people can bring to the table, where you need to kind of fill in the gaps where your own experience might be lacking. And then finally, it's a good time to also start thinking about what types of vendors you will need. This may be suppliers of raw materials. It may be even landlords. We'll talk more about defining your where in the next video. It may also be service providers, such as advisors like attorneys and accountants, even technology providers that provide the technology that you build your business on top of. So this is where you need to think about all the different stakeholders and collaborators in your business, because if you have partners, you'll have one type of legal entity. If you have employees or people working for your business, you'll need to think about potential contracts and how to classify them for tax purposes. We're going through the thought process of setting up all these items that will affect your later legal decisions as you really get into the nitty-gritty of how the legal landscape affects your business. Thanks for watching. In our next video, we'll talk about defining your where. Where are you going to do business? Please remember to click like and subscribe to help keep legal education accessible for small business owners.